talk about the redistricting process that's happening in Nassau County. The Nassau County legislators are putting together maps that are going to break up the minority, I shouldn't say minority, the black community. The black community is being divided up. But every 10 years, redistricting is done through the census. And my question is to all those 20 years ago, when Nassau County government was being developed, why you didn't take the young people like myself and train us, educate us, get us the information to be prepared for redistricting that's happening now? Right now, they're going to divide up Hempstead and Uniondale and separate them from the minority leaders that we already have. The threat that exists today is the same threat that existed 20 years ago. It's nothing different. When people say they're up to their old tricks again, they're not up to their old tricks. They're doing the same divide and conquer that's always existed. It's nothing new. But to prepare yourself instead of reacting is the reality. We're reacting now to something that the Republican Party wants to do, which is gerrymander themselves into position of control of the dollar. But this is my question to the minority communities in Nassau County. Since we had the 2 legislative districts, did we get any more money? Did we get anything set aside? Was there anything that we can say that made our communities better? The answer is no. The reason why, because those who were in position to train, educate, and inform did not do so. And now they want to call meetings and call for us to come out, protest, and yell and scream after the water went under the bridge. The thing is, the dam should have been built before the water went over the bridge. You can't let's talk about redistricting now once it's already decided. We knew our census polls back then. We know that more of us moved to different parts of Nassau County, and that in reality there's 5 legislative districts that belong to black and minorities and Latinos. And they're not saying that. For example, Elmont just did a win with Carrier Solanges, a black community, a thriving community, but it's not considered as a minority community. You know why? Because we didn't put it on the books. The only thing they're saying is there are 2 minority districts when clearly we came out in numbers in Elmont, Valley Stream, North Valley Stream, Floral Park, and elected a black man to the seat of the 3rd legislative district. So that lets you know that right there that we're in numbers, but we're not getting an opportunity for representation. And if we allow them to divide up the lines, we won't be able to get another black minority leader, anything in the legislative district. The problem is that, not that Kavon Abraham's seat is in danger, but he allowed them to move him out of the district when he moved. He moved it to Freeport. They pushed the lines over 2 lines to make sure that he would fight between Denenberg and Sennell for his seat, meaning that no one is really saying that his seat will become vacant, and that gives someone an opportunity to take his seat. But at the same time, the village of Hempstead is being divided in 5 different areas. Some of the stuff is going to go towards Westbury. Some of the stuff is going towards Garden City. Some of the stuff is going to Franklin Square. So there will be different representatives that will have control over Hempstead. And let's think about this. Why are they dividing Hempstead up into 5 different areas? Because it's a money engine. It brings in revenue. It takes care of your stats. When you want to write for grant money from the federal government, you can say, well, I have crime pockets. I have pockets of poverty here and pockets of poverty there. You can actually divide it up and prove that you need this money in your legislative districts. So the reason why they're dividing up is because they see economics when we don't see it. Our legislators should have seen this a long time ago. Should have had in 2000. They should have started having trainings then to tell us what we should be doing to 2013. Or we should have did it in 1995 when we first started thinking about redistricting. Or in 1993 when we first put together this whole process. But the problem is that we're reacting instead of acting. We're not putting together strategies to make sure things like this doesn't happen. And there's so many ways that you make sure that things don't happen. For example, you create an economical engine in minority communities to make sure that minority people can maintain and live in their communities. And a good example is this. When we speak about housing, we're not speaking about housing for the elderly. We're speaking about housing for the young graduate, for the people just getting out of school, the college bound, those people who need housing. And we're not making sure that they get housing. The reason why we're not making sure they get housing is for the simple reason that we feel that there's too many minorities in the community. But ding dong, that is the law. The law protects minority communities, women have a large population. So getting the population is not a crime. The problem with the population, we don't understand our tax dollars, how they come down from the federal government. If we did, we would not try to discontinue the population, but try to increase the population. So I say to you, Mayor Wayne Hall, did you think about one day you will not be able to have that seat because you allowed them to push you out by bringing more people from out of town inside a community that was gerrymandered out your district lines? We have to prepare ourselves for the future and not just necessarily respond to the future. If you don't plan today, you won't be able to have it tomorrow. And I think of it like this. It's like buying a house. Sure, you hustle and bustle and scrape up the money to buy the house, but at the end of the day, you have to make sure you can maintain it, manage it, and keep it. We got the 19 legislative districts of Nassau County. You had 2 minority districts. Hooray, hurrah, hurrah. But maintaining it, managing it, and keeping it is the issue. And if we don't prepare to maintain and manage and keep it for the next 10 to 20 years, we won't be a minority anything in Nassau County because they can gerrymander us out all over the place and there'll be nothing said or nothing done. The reality is that instead of African Americans, like the NAACP, training people to do the right thing, they want to sit on their tush and wait till the last minute and jump up and say, they're doing it again, come on, come on. But that's not how it goes. You can't take things for granted. Or even Urban League. Urban League should have been at the forefront of saying, listen, this is an economical crisis here that we have to make sure money's coming to our community. You don't let a community just die out like Hempstead or Freeport and start dying out and don't think that economics is not the issue. Economics is always the issue because if we can build our own homes, put our own businesses together, we can make sure our people are maintaining residency inside our community. But if you don't make sure those things happen, you'll be pushed out. And that's where we're at today. There are more foreclosures in the African American community than anywhere else on Long Island. In every other block, you'll find 2 and 3 empty houses. Why? Because the economical engine doesn't exist. If you have to go to New Orleans to live or to work, or if you have to go to Trenton, New Jersey to live or to work, you're no longer a part of this community. And many of our young people that went all over the country, South Carolina, North Carolina, Florida, Georgia, to live just to survive economically. We have to think more proactive about what we're doing in terms of economical growth. It's not just building a little mall and hoping that the guy in the mall will hire our people. You got to make sure we have business. The SBA should be making sure that minority business growth is happening in this community. It's a shame that Minority Affairs is not doing its job. Minority Affairs is supposed to create and develop business here in our communities, and it's not happening. And the reason why it's not happening is because we allowed the county executive to control Minority Affairs. Tom Swazi controlled it. Ed Mangano is controlling it. And that's not how it's supposed to go. When it's supposed to go, there's supposed to be a council, Minority Affairs Council, that controls minority affairs and its budget and makes sure that the issues of the minority communities are being satisfied. We have an abandoned community because we have an abandoned minority affairs. We have an abandoned organization that no longer have a council. And you council members who see this, it's shame on you because you sat down and allowed this to happen to our community. I know we don't love each other, and I understand why. Because you don't see the value in us. But let me tell you, we're still $1 million. It's $1 million rolled up in the corner with the dirt on it. Dust it off and make it worth something. Our young people are dying rapidly because we're not bringing about economics. Those kids in those corners are hustling those little nickel damn bags. It's because they're trying to put food on the table to feed their little kids. And reality is they had a job. If there was good education in our communities, these things would happen. It's on us to make sure this happens. Let's don't blame the Republicans or the Democrats because it's not a Democrat nor a Republican issue. It's a black thing. It's an African American thing. It's a minority thing. Because let me just say this, and it's not prejudice. The Latinos are not worried because guess what? They're working. They're building. They're getting the things that they call the American dream. We're the only ones that sit on the sideline and not taking advantage of the American dream and the American process. Is it a part of discrimination? You bet your last bottom dollar it is. But we knew it was discrimination from the beginning. As soon as we in this country knew it was discrimination. We should be putting our gear on and fighting it back to back. Because racism is racism, whether it's institutional racism or it's whether Jim Crow. But it's the same process. It's the same thing. Keeping us down, keeping us at the bottom, and making sure they can stand on our necks. I'm taking the foot off my neck. I want to organize our people to make action, not to react, because reaction will never get you satisfaction. You have to learn how to act and plan ahead of time and get around the curve before the curve get around you. What I want to do is tell everybody, redistricting is not our problem. We are our problem. We allow this to happen in our community, and we are the ones who should take shame on you. If you don't do something to solve the problem, then you are a part of the problem. Because there are solutions. The solution is organizing, communicating, and talking. Like I said, those people 20 years ago who helped put together the 19 legislative district bodies, most of them have passed away of their seniors. But what they should have done was educate the young people up under them and pass the torch and say, this is your job, this is your fight, be ready for the battle because the battle's coming. No justice, no peace.